Alright guys, so in this video we're going to go ahead and do what we did on Friday, or rather we're going to go ahead and finish what we started on Friday. So for those of you that wanted to have a do-over on this, you have it here. I would also suggest, just go over this again, so that way you have that experience, right? So repetition helps in these instances, so that way you can remember some of these steps. Honestly, it is just more of a tip, right? So that way, if you guys want to go ahead and actually get into the hang of it, it's something that you can do, right? So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new terminal. We're going to go ahead and initiate our project, so npm init. In this case, package express. That's fine. Yes. This instance, I'm going to change the index, so instead of having index.js, I'm going to say app.js. That is just personal preference, or it really has no actual weight to it. Next thing I'm going to do is do npm install, and then we're going to do express -- save. And that is going to install express as a dependency. So now we should be able to see dependencies express. Then we're going to go ahead and install npm install -d, capital D, that's important, nodemon, nodemon. And that's going to go ahead and install that. Now we have our development dependencies. Depending on which one of these you install first, whether if you install, for example, nodemon, we would have development dependencies up top and then regular dependency at the bottom. But as it stands, it doesn't really make any real difference. So just keep that in mind, right? We're also going to go ahead and install npm install, and then we're going to use body-parser. And again, we could, just to be safe, do -- save, but again, it'll just install it straight into the dependency, even if we were to ignore it, right? So let's go ahead and create our app.js, and then still in our package.json, we're going to go ahead and create our nodemon script. We're going to call this start. Again, start is a special word. We're going to do start, and then double quotes, and then we're going to say nodemon app.js. Excuse me. Nodemon. For some reason it kind of looked funny, but alright. So we have nodemon app.js. I'm going to go ahead and execute that. So we're going to say start, not start, npm start. It's going to go, whoop, what is this? Oh, I have not saved. I think that would be a great help. npm start, and we go ahead and execute nodemon. So at this point, nodemon is running. Obviously, we don't have anything in our app.js. So let's, take care of that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do constant express equals require. We're going to go ahead and bring in everything that we need. That way we have it nice and ordered. We're going to bring in body parser. Require body parser. I'm going to bring in the path, constant path equals require, and path. So these are our main system libraries, right? So next, we're going to create our definitions. So I'm going to go ahead and say constant app equals express function, because we are exploring a function from the library, and we are storing it in our app, right? At this point, we're going to go ahead and just generate our app.listen in port 3000, okay? So we're going to go ahead and not do the routes right here. We're going to go ahead and create them in their respective folders just to get a heads up. So we're going to go ahead and create a new folder. We're going to call it routes. Now make sure you're not inside the nodes module. That is an important part. Make sure you are in the Explorer, so you can click in an empty part on the Explorer and you can see we get this blue outline. That lets us know we are in the root directory of the Explorer, and that's when we can create our folder, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go into the folder, create our shop.js and admin.js. Now these are going to have different routes a little bit, well, let's start off with shop. It's going to be the relatively simpler one. That one is going to have just routes that will take us, to what would be considered the normal, something that normal people can see, not the admins, right? So, just because I'm going to be a little bit lazy, I'm going to copy these, let's paste them here. I'm going to get rid of the body parser. We're going to need it here, but we will need constant router equal express router, capital R. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and create our router dot get. Now, in the past, we have been using use, and use works for both get requests and post requests. So this is going to be just an information page. We're only going to be getting the page, so we're going to use get. And then we're going to set the default route, so just the slash. And then we're going to create our function inside, so request, response, and next. And we're not going to be using next, but get into the habit of putting it in here, right? Now, we're going to do response. In this instance, we're going to not do the regular, HTML that we have been doing so far. We're going to actually send out files. Now, I will be providing you guys with these files. And just navigate to where they're at, because where are you? No, not here. So we're going to have a folder called views. Now again, I will be providing you guys with this folder. And copy folder. And there we go. So I was afraid I put it inside of the routes, but it is outside in its own hierarchy. So we're good. So again, I will be providing you guys with these. It's just basically HTML with some CSS. This is not an HTML course, this is not a CSS course, so you should already know a lot of this, and honestly it's nothing really outside of the scope of what you've already learned, right? Plus, seeing me write HTML is like watching paint dry. It's not really exciting, right? So in here, we're going to go ahead and do a response dot send file. So we're going to be sending an actual file. And to do so, we're going to go ahead and concatenate a path, because it's a little bit weird since we are using Node. So we're going to use path.join, because we're going to go ahead and stitch together the route. And I'm going to show you two ways of doing this, okay? So the first part is, let me show you what technically could work, but won't really work. So for example, I'm going to jump back one level in the directory, because I am right now in routes. So I need to go into views and then slash, and then views, slash, and then for example shop.html, right? So technically speaking, again, technically, this should lead me to our shop store, right? Let me go ahead and do the module module.exports equals router. Let's go ahead and bring that into the app.json. So for this, where are you? Yes, we're going to go ahead and put a comment here, say routes and ports, constants, and then we're going to say shop routes equals require. Then we're going to go to our routes folder and then shop. And then we're going to use app.use. And we're going to bring in the shop routes. Now, again, this will not really work. Let me bring in a browser. Localhost 3000, and we get an error, right? And we can read the error, and it's basically telling us the path must be absolute or specify a root access to the file, right? So technically what it's saying is we are giving it a file path that is not really static, and it doesn't like that. So let's go ahead and make it static. So going back to the shop, I'm going to show you, again, technically this is one way, again, this is the wrong way. And then I'm going to go ahead and do so. Okay. So first we're going to bring in the default directory. So we're going to do underscore and then dir name. That is going to grab the directory name of wherever we are in. Okay? And then we're going to separate it with a comma. And then I'm going to do single quotes and then // Again, that is going to take me outside of this directory. And then outside of the quotes, comma again. And we're going to go into views, comma, outside again, and then now quotes, shop.html. Okay? Now if we go back to this guy and refresh, we now get our little my products, list of all products, and you know, we're nice and happy. Okay? So now let me show you the other way of doing it, right? Because this could still run into an issue if we were to run this, let's say, on a Mac machine or a Linux machine, where this symbol is not used, right? So the / in this instance is specific to Windows. So this will give us some errors moving forward. So we're going to go ahead and create another folder, right? And in this instance, we're going to call it utilities. So again, over here, make sure you're not inside of the existing folders. I'm going to call it util. And inside of my utilities folder, I'm going to create a file called path. I mean, technically we could call it something else. Honestly, it would be a better idea, that way you guys don't get confused. But this has nothing to do with the path variable. As a matter of fact, we're actually going to use the path variable. So we're going to say constant path equals required path, right? And then we're just going to go ahead and export this, but with a couple of parameters, right? So we're just exporting a direct function. So we're going to do module dot exports equals path dot dir name. So we're going to use the function, and you can see in here we have a little like description of the formula. It basically returns a directory name path. So we're going to use a built-in variable in JavaScript called process, and then we're going to find the main module that is running the process. So process basically looks at, hey, who is calling? Well, who's calling me, or who's creating me, right? And then the main one. Process is in itself the thing that we are running. Main module is like, hey, who's calling the process? And then specifically we want to grab the file name of the process, right? So that will always guarantee that we get the exact like directory, and this is agnostic to operating system. So it will run on Linux, Windows, Mac. Okay, so it's a good idea to have this, so that way it helps you prevent any one of those pitfalls where you wrote this, for example, myself on a Windows machine, and then I try to use it on a Linux system, and it's going to break, right? So what do we do with this? Well, first, we need to go back to our shop. And then in here, I'm going to say utility imports. And this is just so we can differentiate it a little bit. And then we're going to do constants. I'm going to call this root dir. And then require. Inside of the require, we're going to go ahead and bring in where we have that file. So // utilities / path. Right? So now we have that script here, and then I can use root directory to override both the directory name and this part right here. Right? So we do that. Now if I go back to the page, this should still work, and sure enough, right? So far so good, right? Go back over here. All right. So at this point, it's a good idea to have this utility function file, so that way we have a way to work with it. And again, this will work on any operating system, so we don't have to worry about it, right? So let's go ahead and take care of the admin side. Okay, so we're gonna go over to admin. And let me just get rid of you. We're not working with you. We're not working with you. Shop. I'm gonna copy these things right here. Whoop. Copy these things right here, and then paste them over because we will be using them as they are. Right. So we're gonna do our router dots, and then we're gonna do a get because this is gonna be a get request. In this instance, we're going to set the root path. We're going to say add -products. And then our function, request, response, next. Okay, what did I do? Squiggly brackets. And then we're going to do our response dot send file join, and then we're going to bring in the directory, views, and then we want to grab add -products.html. Okay, and that is going to navigate and take us straight to that. So let's go ahead and export the. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and finish this, so that way we can move forward in what we need to do. So we're going to say router. We want to go and redirect, so we're going to do a post in this instance. We're going to grab products, request, response, next. I made a mistake. Yes, I did. So slightly, because I keep forgetting that sometimes you guys can't see this all that well. There we go. At least in the recording, it looks fine, but please let me know if it's actually not easy for you guys to see, right? In this instance, we're just going to go ahead and keep it simple. We're going to create a console log. We're going to log out the request.body, so that way we see whatever element we request from, and then we're just going to do a response, and we're going to do a redirect. Like so. And now we can actually go ahead and do the module .exports equals router. And that's going to go ahead and send it out, right? So, we need to go into app. We're going to go ahead and bring this guy in here and constant admin routes equals required admin. And in this instance, the order in which we call them does matter. So again, we're going to bring products up top. Now, I want to show you guys something, not particular, but something important, right? So let's say I wanted to go ahead and create a specific, let's say, subdirectory, right? So for example, for the admin, if I wanted to be /admin, so admin /admin / whatever, right? And I needed to go ahead and like add these like all over. I don't actually need to do that here. I can go ahead and actually do that over in the app. So for example, in here, instead of just, for example, like we did with this, instead of just doing admin routes like this, we can go ahead and preface it with a property. So you can say /admin. And that way it'll go ahead and look for that /admin and put it in front of all of our admin routes. Okay? So before we forget, we're going to use our parser, so we're going to use app.use body parser .url encoded extended vaults, and some URL encoded. Body parser is not liking something. Let's see. Have crashed. Admin routes is not a function. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm dumb. There we go. So now, if we bring back our page, if I go over here and say /admin /add product, it takes me to the add product. If I click shop from here, it takes me back here, and vice versa. And then if I put in here, for example, book at my product, cannot post admin product. So we have an error somewhere. Let me go ahead and look that up. So admin. Excuse me. That is weird. Something doesn't want to work. Alright, give me a second while I look for my silly mistake. I found out where my mistake was. I forgot to do /add products. For the post. There we go, I'm messing up again. For the post value, where is my browser? There we go. If we go ahead and refresh the page, we go into add products, we say, for example, book, add the product. Now, technically we should start. Oh, we're not yet working on displaying our elements here, but if we look over here, we do get, our object being printed out. So far, so good, right? Before we wrap up, let's go ahead and take care of our situation where we have a call that is not taken care of. So basically our 404 error, right? So we have the file right there. So I'm going to go down to app use. And again, it needs to be at the very end, so that way, if it doesn't fall within any of these values, we can just go ahead and use it. Okay, so we're gonna do the request. Spawns next. And then here we're gonna do response, and then we're gonna send a status in this instance. Status 404 dot send file, and then we're going to do path drawing, and then we're going to, in this instance, we can just do the dash directory name, and then we're going to do views, comma, and then 404.html. Save that. Let's go ahead and see. If I go ahead and add a address in here that doesn't exist, taken to page not found. So again, great success. Okay. All right. So that is it for this video. In the next one, we will be looking at how to handle. So if we have a look at our, HTML pages right now, the CSS is inside of the HTML itself, which is not great. So we're going to go ahead and see how to serve static files in the next video. And this is actually, what the classes of the second week actually entail. Okay, so this is basically everything that we, again, should have done up until Friday, but we got a little bit sidetracked. But again, here we have it. Right? So see you in the next one.